Hi, my name is Campbell. I'm one of the student teachers at the Cosmetology Academy at Douglas, and today I'm going to be doing a how-to video on 3D acrylics. So the finished product is going to look something like this. What a 3D acrylic is a raised acrylic that's hand sculpted using a couple of basic materials to give a very nice approach and appeal. It's great for weddings, some people do as everyday looks, so it's all in what you want to do and the creativity that you have to execute it. So you're going to need your monomer, your polymers, and some sponges to blot off the excess. So let's go ahead and get started. Before I actually started this, I already prepped the nails. I put down a base color of a nude. You can use regular polish or gel. I prefer to use gel. I find that I get a nicer finish with it. So I've already gone through and on all my nails done that. And we're gonna do this in steps to make it a little bit easier to replicate at home. So the first step you need to do is you need to take your monomer and polymer and mix them to put a dot of yellow in the middle, similar to what I've done here. Now to do that, you need a very small pearl of the colored acrylic. So I'm taking my brush, I'm blotting off the excess until I see just a little bit come out. And then using just the tip of my brush, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna grab the tiniest dot of acrylic. And I'm gonna let that sit on my brush for about a 10-second count. Why I'm doing the 10-second count is it gives it time to set up and it'll hold that ball shape that I'm desiring for this. I don't want my acrylic to flow too heavily. I want it to kind of stay exactly where I put it. So I very gently in the middle of the nail, place the acrylic, go around on all the sides to just help maintain that circular look that I'm going for. I don't want this to flow too much. Now on the first nail, I made it a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. The smaller that you can get this, the cleaner your end product will look. So we're gonna let that dry. It'll take about 30 seconds for it to fully cure. So through the magic of cameras, I'm gonna go to this nail now. We already have our acrylic in the middle, pre-set up. The next step is to start adding petals. Now flowers, it just depends on the look you're going for. Some of them have hundreds of petals, some have 5. So it's all in kind of what you're looking for. I want something more summery, that's why I picked pinks and yellows. So I'm looking for something in the range of a 5 to 8 count of flowers as far as the petals. So same principle, we're dipping our brush, taking out the excess, going into our pink, picking up a tiny little bead, and you're gonna let that set up until you see it gets very glossy and shiny. That's how you know it's ready to be used. For normal acrylic, you want it to flow across the nail so that it can set up properly. For this, you want it to be a thicker viscosity. You want it to kind of set where you're putting it. So it's still not totally ready yet. Now you see when I set that down, how it doesn't immediately start going everywhere? That's how you know you're in the right ballpark. It's gonna take some trial and error to get the right consistency to what you need. So I set my ball. The first thing I'm doing is working very generally just to kind of shape a petal. Going back and forth, shaping it out the way that I want it. You're gonna start general and get much more specific the longer the petal sets up. So using the tip of my brush, I'm going straight down the middle, and I'm almost splitting the flower in half, the flower petal. Then I'm taking the ends, I'm reconnecting them. I'm gonna take this side and press it down just very gently. So you'll start to get this bell shape. You're gonna take the belly of your brush, which is the middle part, come over on this side and just gently press up towards the center. We're gonna go back in, do the same motion again, pressing one side down, your left side down, pressing your right side up. Now using the tip of my brush, I'm gonna go underneath and just gently poke underneath that petal. The idea is I wanna get it raised just a little bit so the next petal can sit underneath of it slightly while maintaining this heavy side over here. So we're gonna go through again, and it's almost set, so I'm just doing my final shaping at this point. It doesn't need to be perfect. I am unfortunately a perfectionist, so I think it needs to be perfect on the first try, which never seems to happen. Now, right before it's totally set up, you're gonna take the tip of your brush and just gently lift that petal up a little bit to give it more of a three-dimensional look. So, this is our first step. So we've already started with this petal. I'm gonna move on to my next nail. I've already placed 4 of the petals. Note what I said. I raise this side so that I can slide this side underneath of it, going around. You don't need to do it on every one. Nature is not perfect with her flowers. This one's raised, this one goes back underneath. So I've gone halfway around the nail using the petals in the same fashion we already talked about. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna move my hand so I can reach and get in on this side. So I'm gonna dip. And I'm gonna go back in, I'm gonna pick up my pearl, let it sit up for a second. Now, I purposely picked this one up so it's a little too small. If you find a pearl, you pick it up and you're like, not the same size as the rest when I started, just tap it off. Go back in, start again. Now this one's way too much, so it's all about product control. You need to be able to kind of replicate what you've done each step. It doesn't need to be absolutely perfect on the first try, but you kind of want to stay within the same realm. So again, I'm gonna let this set up until it starts to get a nice glossy shine. So if this is your first time doing it, the way to know that you're kind of close is, if you've ever had lights around you, or you have a light of some sort, when you can start to see that glossy shine, you can see a white line forming on the top of it, which you can kind of start to see here, that's when you know that you're right. It's almost perfectly set up to where we need to be. If it's still kind of muted or it looks like you put a matte top coat on it, you need to wait just a second longer. We're gonna go back in, we're gonna place that pearl just like we did on the first one, and we're gonna work it to the shape that we need. Split it down the middle, push one side up, make sure it looks nice at the front, push around. And we're going to continue this motion the whole way around until we would go around and go back to our first flower, and we're going to repeat. So your finished product is going to look something like this as far as the petals. We went the whole way around, adding. Now, this petal is a little weak compared to the other ones. What I mean by weak is it's a little small, and that's where your client's eyes are going to go first. So if you get to the end and you're like, one's not exactly what I wanted, you're not going to dip your whole brush in. What you're going to do, I'm going to use my sponges to blot off the excess. You're going to take just the last 1/8 of the brush. You're gonna dip that, blot off the excess, and you're gonna grab the tiniest little pearl of acrylic. You're gonna follow the same steps as I said before. You're gonna let it almost fully set up. Now when this one gets to about a matte top coat finish, it's not fully shiny, but it's almost there, that's when we're gonna start working with this one. I want it still a little bit wet, I want it to flow. And you're not gonna place it down. You're gonna do a gentle patting motion and then place it on the end of the petal. And you're gonna back brush it towards the center. So it's gonna look a little wonky at first, but you're gonna go back in and using the same technique, you're gonna help shape that petal. And if it's starting to flow a little too much, it means you have too much liquid in your brush. So use your sponges to blot off the excess. Go back in, fill that petal up, make it full like the other ones. Now, the last step that I do for mine is I often find that the yellow in the middle tends to get a little bit lost. So what I like to do is, using the same principle as filling in on the petals, you're gonna grab the tiniest little bit of monomer, and you're gonna grab a tiny little dot of yellow. And I'm just going to gently place that right on top. This still needs to be a little wet. You want it to flow just a little bit. What that's gonna do for you is it's gonna make it more three-dimensional. It's also, if you got any pink on that yellow, it helps rehydrate that yellow back to its pure shade. And that's the finished product.